Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bangers, Bops, and Banter. This is episode. Actually, I don't know what episode we're on at this point.
I think it's 30.
Episode 30. Whoa, we finally made it. Yeah. I'm one of your hosts, Joe. I'm here with the co-host, Brendan.
Hi, I'm your co-host, Brendan.
Wow, and we have a guest this week, as we usually do.
Hi, I'm Nuno. I'm the guest this week, as they usually do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow, we got a cool episode coming up. First we got some music and movie news. Not very much this week. A bunch of the stories I picked, I'm actually not very interested in, but we'll go over them because we have to fill time.
We don't have to. This podcast could be like 20 minutes if we cut out all the slack, you know?
Probably. After we talk about the news, we're going to discuss it's a compilation record. I forget the.
It's just called a Christmas record.
Yeah. Basically, it's a compilation of a bunch of artists on this one label.
Records was the label.
ZE Records.
And some very interesting songs on it. And then finally, we're going to discuss the Christmas movie, A Christmas Story. We got a Christmas record and a Christmas story. You know?
Can you sense the pattern?
Yes, it's gonna be. We're all about Christmas. You know, because it's Christmas in like 4 days.
Yep.
So
you think if we have Christmas twice in the title, we'll get twice as many like promotions from the algorithm?
Maybe.
The best part about it is that the titles are so vague that anybody just looking through it will be more intrigued because they're like, but what Christmas story? What Christmas movie? What Christmas record?
Okay, I get with the Christmas record because that one's like pretty obscure. But with a Christmas story, I feel like everybody knows about A Christmas Story.
That's fair too. Although, and we can get into this once we actually start talking about it. My girlfriend had never watched it, so we watched it together, and she quite enjoyed it.
Joe had never seen it.
I had seen parts of it while I was at like my family's house, or like Christmas Eve or whatever. It's just on because, of course, it is.
Mm-hmm.
They like run it for 24 hours on Christmas Eve and into Christmas Day or something.
This will be interesting because I think we're all gonna have very different takes on the film and had different experiences. But first, let's talk about some music and movie news. The Grammys.
Oh, what'd they do now?
They suck. Well, this isn't something it is something they did, but Fiona Apple is maybe going to boycott them.
Good.
Mainly because they basically the Grammys nominated Dr. Luke as their CEO. And she is naturally upset about that because of the pretty serious allegations against Dr. Luke. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I prefer people just boycott them in general, honestly, because they suck. Don't watch. Actually, don't watch them too because they're really fucking boring.
They really are. It's incredible.
But yeah.
For the uninitiated, who is Dr. Luke?
Okay, Dr. Luke. He is. I don't remember if he's not a producer. He might be a producer, but he was involved in a scandal. Kesha essentially, I believe, claimed that he had sexually assaulted Katy Perry, or there's like sexual assault allegations against him. So, yeah. I feel it probably just shouldn't have nominated him as that. position. It's just like a bad look in general. Yeah. The Recording Academy also has announced a change music roadmap thing. It's like this color of change like roadmap, and it's basically them being like, hey, we're gonna help people of color, which I guess that's good. It's basically they're gonna support more black artists by investing in them and doing other things. So that, I guess that's nice. Good job. And it's like it for music news. There's not much news this week. Not much that I saw that I thought was interesting. In movie news, there's also not much. First, John Mulaney has entered a rehab for cocaine and alcohol abuse. I hope he recovers, because he is a funny man. Big funny. He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah. Honestly, if you haven't seen John Mulaney's comedy specials, go watch them. I'm pretty sure they're all on Netflix. They're fantastic. Like A+ comedy specials, all of them.
I still reference Street Smarts to my buddies.
Street Smarts.
Yeah. Oh,
then you hit him with a phone book, because as any Chicago cop will tell you, it doesn't leave bruises. Mulaney, age 10, being charged with police brutality.
All right. Finally, next, there's only one other thing that I found that I thought was interesting. The Lizzie McGuire reboot is no longer happening.
No!
It's not happening.
What?
Why?
I don't know.
I didn't even realize there was a Lizzie McGuire reboot, and
I know. I didn't either. I'm annoyed. Why couldn't the Lizzie McGuire reboot happen?
I never saw the original.
Yeah, me neither.
I actually did see the original Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was a bit of a Disney kid back in the day. Not like traditional Disney kid of like The Little Mermaid and Snow White and all the usual things that people say. I didn't watch those movies until I was 18 years old. I was very much Disney Channel. Stuff like Lizzie McGuire is stuff that I did end up seeing. Unless I'm remembering Lizzie McGuire wrong, but I think I'm watching it correctly. No, I think I'm thinking that.
Is the one who has the cartoon girl of herself in her head that breaks the fourth
Yes,
wall,
okay,
right?
so I am thinking about the right one.
Yeah.
I have a bad habit of mixing up all of the preteen dramas of that era. Pretty much.
Except for iCarly. Wizards of Waverly Place. Oh, that one.
Wizards of Waverly Place is a pretty obvious one, though.
Yeah. I mean, that one's got wizards in it. And
Selena
Gomez.
Gonna get a Wizards of Waverly Place reboot. I'm
Honestly,
sure Selena Gomez.
Bring Selena Gomez back. I'll watch it.
Why would she do it?
I don't know why she would
makes
do it.
way more money just being a pop artist.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for news. There's not much.
Yeah, I mean, not much is happening. It's Christmas time. Things are winding down. Hopefully, we're hopefully getting a vaccine for COVID that will turn us into alligators, according to Brazilian president.
Yo, I can't wait to be turned into a horse person.
Dude, please.
That would be pretty sweet.
It would be pretty sweet.
Dude. Big teeth, large snout.
Large schlong.
Oh, you're talking about the horse.
Yeah.
I was still on the alligators. I'm like, I'm pretty sure
I think I would rather take the alligator than the horse, honestly.
Really? I don't know. I feel like there's more people with horse fetishes than alligator fetishes.
I'm not out here trying to get fucked.
All All right.
The Virgin Horsecock versus the Chad Alligator Death Spiral.
Oh.
Wow, this got very non-kid friendly very fast.
Yeah. Anyway, we listened to an album.
It's a compilation, really.
Yeah, album compilation. I don't know. I consider it's still an album.
They're compilation albums, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to introduce this record?
So
it's very hard to.
The compilation album that we listened to is a compilation album called A Christmas Record. Originally released on vinyl, so it makes it even funnier. Yeah, shocker, right?
I know.
So a little bit of backstory on ZE Records. ZE Records was kind of they were a new wave record label. So going into this, I had found out about this through a Todd in the Shadows video about the waitresses. And he had mentioned this, and he did an offhanded joke of, what would you expect from a Christmas song by a band called Suicide? And I was like, what would I expect from a band called Suicide? And so after that, this album it stuck in my head for a while. Christmas was coming up, and I was like, I should sit down and listen to this, But I never really got around to it. And when I finally did get around to it, it certainly was an experience, because ZE Records clearly has a very broad spectrum for the artists that they support. And unfortunately, everybody except the waitresses pretty much disappeared after a certain amount of time. I looked into some of the groups themselves, especially when we get to it, Sleigh Bells with Leo, or Sleigh Ride with Leo, Helena Nogura, and Mary France. And even them, they had like 3 or 4 songs attributed to them on Spotify. So technically, I'm using Spotify as a metric. But they only had a few songs attributed to them. And that itself made me really sad. But the whole album was really quite an experience. I'm not sure how much more you preface this before we start talking about it. But yeah, that's the sort of going into this, expect nothing. And that was kind of what I had going into it to begin with.
I know you said quickly. I know you said that like a lot of the artists disappeared afterwards, but I do just want to mention that Suicide is like a very influential underground act.
Yeah,
they're like, they're for like the New York area. They're definitely a pioneer of the this like weird avant-garde sound they have.
Another thing I wanted to say: are we reviewing the 13-track CD release or the original 9-track LP release?
So
is there no? Oh God.
Yeah.
I have notes for all 13.
Okay.
But I can also just do the 9 if you guys would prefer to be more authentic.
I did all 13, so I don't.
All right, sure. Let's do the 13-track. This is the 2004 CD reissue. It's the one that you'll find on streaming services, not the original 1981 release, which only has 9 songs. But I don't know. It's
before we continue,
it's the same idea.
Before we continue, I want to fix one of the statements I just made. Not all of the artists disappeared. Was Not Was went on to do Walk the Dinosaur. So I apologize to Was Not Was for not respecting their history. Now we may proceed.
Yeah, what do you guys think of this album? This is one of the weirdest Christmas albums I think that exists. I feel like this is one of my favorite Christmas albums because it is like not a Christmas album. All those songs are Christmas themed, but they're so like atypical that like you could listen to this at basically any time. And I think that leads it to being much more interesting than your typical Christmas album. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Being like very early new wave, and a lot of it is still like very kind of punky, experimental. I definitely like that aspect of the record, of that kind of sound, especially because it tends to clash so much with Christmas music and that kind of theme there. And the artists really use that to their advantage. Like the opener, My Silent Night, and Things Fall Apart. I really like those two tracks because they're taking typical Christmas ideas and sort of deconstructing them, I guess, which is pretty cool. Also, pretty cool sounds.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to an extent, Christmas with Satan as well, but that's that track is a bit more zany than some of the others.
So part of my notes was I rated each song on a scale of Saint Nick's and a scale of Red Ryder BB guns.
Yeah, okay.
The more Saint Nick's you have, the more Christmassy you are, the more Christmassy I feel. The more Red Ryder BB guns, the bigger the banger. And there was a lot of, most of this album was falling in the very low range of Saint Nick's, but very either middle to high range for bangers, and that was kind of interesting. Just because my whole thought process was, let's listen to the song as a Christmas song. What about this makes it Christmassy? Does it work? What about this makes this just a song? Does it work? And yeah, as you guys both mentioned, it's not really, some of the songs, like, as we'll get into it, Sleigh Ride, straight up just a Christmas song. And so it's hard not to think of Christmas, but a lot of them are really like, what is Christmas? And for a lot of these artists, Christmas is a very miserable time, it seems. A lot of loneliness on this album.
Definitely, like for Christmas rapping, the song starts and just like, yeah, this year is stressful and Christmas is stressful, so I'm just gonna take it easy. And like Things Fall Apart, like literally the singer's entire life is just falling apart around Christmas time. But yeah, there are some other songs that are, a bit more uplifting, like Hey Lord by Suicide. That one hit me right in the feels, No, I like
Suicide, the most positive band imaginable.
Honestly, the Hey Lord is just like, hey Lord, how's it going? Thank you.
So I'm not sure if we want to go from top to bottom, or if we just want to bounce around.
We can go top to bottom and talk about that.
Because you bring up Hey Lord by Suicide, and one of the notes that I'd written down is, I honestly and it might just be how Suicide is, since I don't know too much about Suicide, but it was really, really hard for me to tell, is this a positive song, or is he being sarcastic,
That's interesting. I definitely took it literally, but it could be interpreted sarcastically.
It was...
Or satirically.
Yeah, the part of it was the sort of slow droning to the music, as well as the lack of emotion in his voice. It was purely a statement. Hey Lord, I want to thank you. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say what he's thanking him for. He's just saying, I want to thank you. Sounds kind of burnt out, and I'm like, so he's either, Christmas is over and he's tired and he's like, oh, thank you for this wonderful time, or he's, sitting there depressed and lonely and he's like, thanks, everything sucks. So that was how I sort of interpreted the whole thing.
Interesting. You have anything to say, Joe?
What? I don't know. I didn't pay too much attention to the lyrics. It's a Christmas record. Like,
I feel like
I
if you're
don't
gonna
know.
pay attention to the lyrics on any Christmas record, this probably is the one to do it, though. I guess that's fair. I mean, it depends on track to track. Christmas rapping,
Yeah.
obviously a lot of subtext there, you know.
Christmas rapping is interesting. It's a different version than the original, I noticed. It's a different version.
The
Like
Christmas
this version,
rapping
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I like? Am I like? Okay, no, they are different versions. It's weird. Because the one on this record is different than the one on, whatever the other record they released it on was.
Yeah, I think the Waitresses had like a greatest hits record where they released it.
Oh, okay. Christmas rapping, it's fun. It's just groovy. I don't know. It's cool. I don't know. I don't have much to say about Christmas rapping. It's cool.
I see.
Yeah. I really love the opener, the cover of My Silent Night. It's just very like weird and avant-garde. I don't know. Very like it has like this very off-putting tone that I think sets the mood for the rest of the record very well. I also love Things Fall Apart. It's very very probably the most new wavy song on the album. You know, very very groovy. You got that guitar riff. It's nice. Yeah. I don't know. Is anyone else gonna talk?
I mean, what's it called? We can run it back to My Silent Night. Yeah, it's that one scored pretty low on my Saint Nick list. I gave that one a 2 out of 10. Because and it's sort of my whole experience with it is it's very. I felt like I was listening first initially to like a wasteland. It opens up with those church bells droning, and I'm like, this is a funeral. This isn't Christmas. This is, Christmas is the baby Jesus is born and all that. It's supposed to be life, but all it feels like is death. And then I wrote Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Yes.
And it was, I think that was, and my logic behind it was, it's very beepy and boopy, for a silent night. And that was just kind of the mind space I was in. I was fully prepared for, all right, this is just going to be an hour of this really depressing, really weird. I liked it. I liked it as a song. It's not a good Christmas song, but it's certainly an interesting song. The album itself, I'm sort of surprised. Like, I wouldn't even say that My Silent Night sets a good tone because Things Fall Apart is the third track, and from there it just hits the gas. So it's really just My Silent Night and No More Christmas Blues that are super depressing right at the beginning. Brendan, you got anything about My Silent Night?
No, I was gonna say, you're talking about the tone of this record. Like this, there is no tone to this compilation. The only consistent theme
weird
is
Christmas songs. Yeah. It's a weird. Well, that's what I mean. It's like it sets this like, you're getting into something weird as soon as you hear the first track.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
That's fair.
I'm in for something interesting.
It is certainly weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Where did No More Christmas Blues sit on your Saint Nick scale?
So believe it or not, this one got a 3 out of 10, but not for the right reason.
Oh no.
So it made me feel like I was listening to a man suffering with some very severe mental issues, dreading Christmas time, and statistically, wintertime, especially Christmas time, is when suicide rates go up. And so the reason why it gets a 3 out of 10 is because I'm like, oh yeah, suicide is a pretty major part of the Christmas season, unfortunately. And it did not make me holly nor jolly, but it did remind me that mental health is important. And if folks are feeling suicidal, they should seek help. Like Christmas is a really tough time for folks because they see everybody else happy and spending time with each other. Not so much now, obviously. And they get this feeling of, why aren't I doing that? Why can't I be happy like that? And the toxic thoughts start to creep in, and that itself is a pretty big tone setter, I would say. Although the other songs that go on past this don't have such a dreary instrumental backing to it, but they all share the same idea of, I'm spending Christmas alone, things aren't the same as they used to be, people are having fun, why aren't I? So that's No More Christmas Blues.
Make more depressing Christmas songs and movies. Have a Christmas movie where, like, the main character's wife dies during Christmas.
Have you ever seen The Santa Claus?
No, is that what happens? God, I hope so.
No, but there's a subplot on top of the wacky antics of Tim Allen being Santa. There's a subplot of him losing his custody of his child because he's currently going through a really messy divorce, and his wife thinks that he's gone crazy when he starts telling her that he is Santa Claus. And she's like, stay away from my kid. You've lost it. You're not allowed to see him anymore. And it's really, really uncomfortable because this looming, while he's doing all these wacky things in the North Pole after killing Santa, you're always like, oh yeah, but in the real world, he's currently in a custody battle with his child, and this Santa job may stop him from ever seeing his kid and spending quality time with him ever again. And that's really, really depressing.
There's got to be an interpretation of that film where it's like him becoming Santa Claus is just like him rationalizing what's happening in his real life, and he's just like escaping into this fantasy of becoming Santa Claus to justify what's going on. Oh man, I wish we did the Santa Claus at some point. Anyway. Yeah. Do we have any like least favorite songs on this record? Because I know I did not really like Christmas with Satan, I must say.
I was also not a fan of. I didn't like a lot of the songs on this record. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. A lot of them don't like. Sure, they're kind of weird, and there's a novelty to them certainly, but there's not a replayability to them. Christmas with Satan, definitely. Sleigh Ride, I don't like. I find the vocals quite abrasive and like annoying.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
The thing is, for me, a lot of the mixing on this record doesn't sound that great, I find. And it takes away a lot from the listening experience. Like the mixing on Sleigh Ride is really not great. Same thing with Bells of Christmas, which is unfortunate.
I can hear that now. I was only listening to this record through earbuds, but now listening to it with headphones, I can definitely hear that the mixing on those tracks is not great. There's some where it is very good. Like, I mean, the Suicide track is mixed very well.
Oh, Suicide track is done beautifully.
I think the first two are also mixed pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also Things Fall Apart. But yeah, I definitely get that feeling that these things Although I do like Sleigh Ride. I don't know.
I don't like I like Sleigh Ride as an alternative to the usual. I'm not sure which band usually is played for Sleigh Ride. I think they're doing a pretty good job. It's certainly, and this is kind of because of the sort of silky, natively English speaking voices that I'm used to. It does make Sleigh Ride featuring Leo, Helena Nogara, and Mary France. It makes their version a little harder to sort of put down, but I would not say it was a bad track. I think it was it was a Christmas song. It's Sleigh Ride.
Yeah, I think it's mainly, I don't know. I think you can very clearly hear their accents while they're singing, and I don't know. I think that like it gives it like personality that it otherwise would not have.
No, yeah, definitely. I like that part. It's just the ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-lings are just like they're too high pitched.
That's fair. What's it called? I'm gonna break the mold and go back to Christmas with Satan because it was mentioned, and I want to tear this thing apart.
Christmas with Satan is probably one of the more divisive tracks on the album.
I hated this song.
We all hated this song. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't say I hated it. I just thought it failed at what it was trying to do.
That's fair.
This very avant-garde, out there, like track, experimental. I don't know.
I guess
I actually don't know what it was trying to do, but it failed at it. It sounds like a Swans track that like they just were like, fuck it, who cares? Just play random shit, dude.
That was part of my issue with it. And I have some very fun notes on this because I made sure to make it clear while I was writing this. This thing had a 1 out of 10 Saint Nick's because of just like, even without the name Christmas with Satan, without the concept of spending Christmas with Satan, this song is so bad that it actively made me hate Christmas. The more I listened to it, I was like, I don't want this. I'm in the least Christmassy mood ever. But I had originally put it at a 3 because I was like, well, this isn't a very Christmassy song and it's ruining my Christmas mood. It's all right. And then I hit the 3-minute mark. 3-minute mark, I dropped it to a 2 because I started to get a headache. By 4 minutes, I was dreading that it was continuing, and I gave it a 1. I was like, this is overstayed its welcome. There's so much going on, and there's, as you mentioned, Joe, there's no clear point to it. While it's sort of neat that they're taking these well-known Christmas songs and they warp them a bit, they make them a little messy. There's no point to it. They're not trying to make a message or make it musical. They're just, fuck it, we're avant-garde. We're gonna do weird Christmas music within our Christmas song because,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not good. Christmas Satan. Christmas with Satan.
What are your thoughts on Christmas Time in Motor City?
I didn't like Christmas Time in Motor City.
It's very weird. I don't know. It's so like the novelty of it is really entertaining.
There's quite a bit of novelty to it.
It's a fucking. They're just trying to sell some cars, dude. Like, they gotta sell those cars. I like I don't know, the novelty for me kind of carries this track. I think a lot of this record, just like on the back half, is not really that amazing. I think that it's kind of front loaded, except for the suicide track.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
I would say, like, looking back at my notes and just kind of remembering how the songs go, It was definitely weaker, but I don't think it really dropped off until Christmas Time in Motor City. I still thought that It's a Holiday, especially with like the instrumental, that really, really funky bass. While it's not a great Christmas song per se, I gave it a 5 out of 10 Saint Nick's. I remember having a lot of fun with it. It's just, it felt very generic. It was still just it felt like kind of a very generic funk song, but Christmas Time in Motor City, I wrote, it's a worse Devo. That's how it made me feel. That was the best way I could like collect how I was feeling, because I couldn't really pinpoint what was bothering me, but something about it was just agitating me so much. And part of it was like they didn't try to make a Christmas song, but they also didn't try to make a song that stood on its own. They made something in the middle, and that just makes it a worse track. They throw in Christmas words so that you know it's a Christmas song, but you're not going anywhere. This Christmas Time in Motor City, the car is off. You know? Like, we're sitting here in Park, and they're telling us about how great it is. Nothing's happening.
Wow.
What got the most Saint Nicks?
It's gotta be Christmas Wrapping or Sleigh Ride, I assume.
Let's take a look.
Right, I feel like.
Christmas Wrapping, and this might be controversial, Christmas on Riverside Drive, both got 10 out of 10 Saint Nicks.
10 out of 10 Saint Nicks.
10 out of 10. Those were the most... I was feeling extra Christmassy listening to them. Christmas Wrapping speaks for itself, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that right now. But Christmas on Riverside Drive solves the issue that so many people have had with Baby It's Cold Outside, which is it. A lot of folks, the issue with Baby It's Cold Outside is they interpret it as it's kind of a little manipulative, it's a little rapey, you know, and do with that.
I just feel like it's a lot rapey, but
I haven't listened to Baby.
In the time, I guess it wasn't, but like nowadays, definitely that dialogue is very rapey.
Yeah, I haven't listened to Baby It's Cold Outside in a while, so my stance on how rapey it is basically based on being a kid and hearing it and going, oh, they're just spending a nice night together. But back to the important thing. Christmas on Riverside Drive is a song about a man trying to get to his lover. And there's nothing, at least in my interpretation, I don't know, maybe you guys are going to be like, no, actually, if you look here and there, he's actually a big sex freak. But in my interpretation, this is just a passionate man looking to get back to his love. It's Christmas time, and he's telling this taxi driver, gun it. Take me to Riverside Drive. I gotta find my woman. And I'm like, that's it. Like, if everyone's out here looking for a Christmas love song, that's the one. Mariah Carey be damned.
Ooh.
I'll fight Mariah Carey.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It was Christmas on Riverside Drive being like such a strong Christmas love song made me feel more Christmassy, and therefore I gave it 10 out of 10 Saint Nicks.
Nice.
Just on its own, really, really solid bass supporting the whole thing. It was just all really, really nice. I really liked it. I don't know about you guys though. Tell me, what were your thoughts on Christmas on Riverside Drive?
I like how you see it. That's not how I see it though. This guy, he sleeps around and like he just goes to whatever a woman is of the season, I guess, because it starts out where he says that old San Bernardino was begging me to stay, but I'm sticking to the. Oh no! Wait, is this a different song? I have lyrics by Kid Creole, and the Coconuts instead of August Darnell. Wait, hold up. I'm gonna make sure these are the same songs.
No, you're correct. It still opens with
the old San Bernardino. Yeah, but I'm sticking to the pattern. I'll take to Manhattan at this time of year. So he's leaving woman to go to different woman. I think.
That's an interesting way to think about it. That wasn't how I was looking at it. And even then, I guess I didn't really think about that as subtext. I guess how I sort of read it was he's a man who's been away from home, and while work in San Bernardino is telling him to stay, his woman's in Manhattan, so he's got to go home for the holidays. You know? Although I can totally see the interpretation of he's been spending time with another woman in San Bernardino, but now he's got to go back to his Christmas lady.
Yeah.
So
his Christmas lady on Riverside Drive.
Yeah.
Bam. Can't see it by finger guns.
Well,
Also, this song has the word tramp in it, so that's cool. Just saying.
confirmed cool.
I don't think I caught the tramp part. So.
Yeah. Well, now you have. Congratulations.
Yeah. Joe, tell us about your thoughts on Christmas on Riverside Drive.
It's a decent, groovy track. It's fun enough. It's a bit long. Yeah, I hadn't listened to the lyrics that hard. So yeah.
Yeah. Do we wanna? Oh yeah. Well, I gotta ask. What was your biggest Red Ryder BB guns?
Biggest Red Ryder BB guns. Let's take a look. I don't think I gave any tracks a 10 out of 10, and I think that might just be the fact that, like, for me to have rated something, my rule was if I'm going to rate a 10 out of 10, this is a song that no matter what time of year I'm going to listen to, and it might just be the fact that these are all still Christmassy enough. I did not give them a 10 out of 10, but the 9 out of 10s were given out to Christmas rapping, no shock there. It's a Big Country.
Interesting.
And Christmas on Riverside Drive.
Okay.
Yeah, those were the 9 out of 10s. There were some honorable mentions, 8 out of 10s with Things Fall Apart and Bells of Christmas, which I know you did not enjoy as much.
No.
Oh, and Christmas Fever.
Okay. Interesting. Huh. Personally, I would give, based on your system there, I would give Christmas rapping a 10 out of 10 Red Ryder BB guns. I would listen to Christmas rapping any time of the year. I think it's a great track. Probably also the Suicide track. I really like that track, Hey Lord. And it's not so tied down to Christmas that it doesn't work other times of the year. But yeah, definitely good, interesting little insight there. Anybody have anything else to say, or do we want to move on to some scores? Thank you for your input.
You're welcome. Ooh.
What's it called? I want to know y'all's opinion on It's a Big Country. What were your thoughts on it?
I thought the song was very lackluster. It starts out and I'm like, yep, this is a sound I've heard before tied to a topic I've heard before.
Did I say It's a Big Country was a 9 out of 10 Red Ryder BB guns? It was a 7 out of 10. 9 out of 10 was the Saint Nicks.
I see.
So I take that back. Still, 7 out of 10 was enough that I enjoyed it enough. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on it.
I thought it was a pretty decent, just like folky country track.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's decent. I don't hate it. I don't think it's like perfect or anything, but
it keeps it short.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's not Christmas with Satan going on for 6 minutes long and being awful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't remember the song too vividly, because it was kind of, at the end of the day, a forgettable sort of track, but I do remember how it makes me feel. And I think that's an important part of Christmas music. That's why I gave it 9 out of 10 Saint Nick's.
Uh-huh.
Because it made me feel nostalgic, you know? All of my family lives around me, but I still had that same sort of... I've had that same transaction in my head of, oh man, I can't believe so-and-so's gotten so big, you know, from Christmas cards or seeing them at, you know, holiday gatherings. And so that itself, it made me feel good, which was really nice because I think I was still sort of recovering from No More Christmas Blues. That song sat with me for a while, even after Christmas wrapping and Things Fall Apart. That song was like, it just made me so miserable that having this lame, sappy, hey, family's doing great song was enough to make me uplift my mood.
Alright. Cool. We're moving on to scores. I want Nuno to go first because I feel like he's definitely the most positive on this album.
How would I rate this album?
Yeah, just give it a out of 10. A general score.
I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10. The highs on this record are super high, and even the songs that I wasn't feeling too good about, they were still pretty strong. But there are too many tracks, too many Christmas with Satans, that just make me so miserable that if I was going to listen to this record again, I would probably just pick and choose the songs I really liked and forget the rest existed.
All right. Joe, now that you're in the middle of yawning.
Oh boy. I agree with Nuno. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. I think it's a pretty good, enjoyable Christmas record that is unique enough to where I'd pretty happily play it again, maybe minus 1 or 2 tracks. The Satan song, no. But there's a lot of like interesting stuff that I think makes this a very just unique and enjoyable Christmas record, and it's very different from stuff you'd normally listen to during Christmas time. So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, I definitely agree that there's a lot of uniqueness to the album, and there's a lot of novelty to it as well. It's definitely worth a listen if you've never really ventured into this kind of thing. I personally, there's only a couple tracks I like, and I'll listen to those songs again. You know, I've been listening to Christmas rapping since I was a kid, so why stop now? But I find that I have problems with a majority of the tracks on here, and don't really end up enjoying it all too much. So I'm at like a 5 out of 10. That's on the whole.
Damn.
What a Scrooge.
Just wait until we get to a Christmas story.
Is it better or worse than the Bare Naked Ladies?
It's way better. Spoilers, okay. We have a Christmas album swap coming out on Christmas Eve this year, so stay tuned.
Totally fun. It was definitely fun. Definitely.
The idea was the fun part, really.
Yeah.
Actually listening to all the Christmas music was not the fun part.
Yeah.
I'm certainly excited for that episode.
What are your opinions on the Bare Naked Ladies? You know.
Not a big fan. My mother like adores them.
Oh,
That's like, I feel like that's the case. Is like, if you are a boomer, bare naked ladies, yes.
they made the Big Bang
Bare
Theory
Naked
theme
Ladies-
song.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call your mom a boomer.
she was born just out of that range, so you're not entirely wrong, but you're partially wrong. It is.
Same.
They're big time mom rock. That's what I usually like. Whenever I tell my mother I don't like her music, the way that I summarize it is it's mom rock. It's a song that a mother would like, but it is not a song that I will ever enjoy. What's it called? Nickelback, Imagine Dragons,
Oof.
that sort of stuff. She loves them.
Nickelback. Oh no. Oh no.
My mother's not going to watch this, but I love you, Ma.
Introduce your
I also
mom to
love
everything,
you as
everything. Like,
Yo.
Introduce your mom to everything, everything. Make her listen to Get to Heaven, and then like, is it everything, everything is like Imagine Dragons, but like good.
Yeah.
Basically, or that album specifically is like Imagine Dragons, but like good.
Also, like their first album, Man Alive, is kind of a similar vibe. So check them out. Go listen to Everything, Everything. They're a good band. I actually listened to the project that they made before Everything, Everything called what's it called? Modern Bison. Yeah, that one. It's just like Imagine Dragons, I swear. It's not like Imagine Dragons. It's a math rock band. Anyways, moving on to the movie.
We Nuno, this was your pick.
This was my pick.
Do you want to introduce A Christmas Story? I kind of feel like Christmas Story doesn't need that much of an introduction. I feel like most people sort of know what it's about.
Yeah.
But, would you like to introduce it?
Yeah.
I absolutely can. So our story follows a young lad by the name of Ralphie and his quest to acquire the Red Ryder 200 range BB gun with compass on the stock and a thing that tells time. And all the wacky antics that he deals with. The movie itself was put out, and I have to look this up.
1983.
1983. But the book that it's based on was put out in 1966, and you really can tell it's a snippet in time, sort of dramatized for the sake of the movie, of America in 1966, all the way from, and I'm
pretty sure A Christmas Story, it takes place in the 40s.
Yeah.
Does it take place in the 40s?
Yeah.
This shows how little I actually know about the 60s. Point is, it takes place in a time before I was born. And anyways, while I was watching this, I was pointing out all these things to my girlfriend, like, hey, that's a thing that they don't do. This is a thing. That's the other thing. But yeah, it's a snippet of 1940s Americana, and I quite enjoy it. Ralphie's a rabble rouser. He's a bit of a troublemaker. But he's just trying his best. He wants to protect his family. Begin.
I really didn't like this film, and I'm gonna sum up why I didn't like this film with an audio clip I recorded. Okay?
Let's hear
It
it.
should be interesting.
Oh wait, I fucking muted my phone earlier. 1 sec.
There are several audio clips that I'm thinking he's
Here
gonna
we go.
say. That is Flick with his tongue suck the pole.
Yes.
Joe hates children, is what I got.
Yes. It is. This is like a lot of the humor in the movie is like, child fall down, ha ha, he scream. And it's annoying to me. Just children screaming is very annoying to me. I guess a lot of the film is like a comedy essentially, or it's positioned as a comedy, and a lot of the time I'm just like, okay. I'm very like, it didn't.
Oh, lots of the humor did not age well.
Yes, a lot of the humor didn't age well. There's some very racist stuff in this film.
The ending is very racist.
Oh my god! I was warming up to the film, and then that like the scene where they go to
the Chinese restaurant / bowling alley.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Oh no, oh god. Yeah. It just does not. The humor just does not land for me most of the time. There is the sequence I like the most in the film is when he goes to the mall and he tries to get in line to see Santa, and like when he gets to Santa, that entire thing is like shot like a horror film almost. It's so like that part I think works actually very well. The part that like actually the one time I think I laughed in the film where it actually got me is when he like asked for the gun and then the Santa's like, "You're gonna shoot your eye out, kid. Get out of here." And I was like, "Oh fuck." Yeah, I don't know. That was like the sequence I enjoyed. And a lot of the rest of the film, I'm like, it's annoying. I think there are also some creative sequences with Ralphie like imagining stuff. He like imagines, when he gets the gun, he's gonna be like a cowboy. He's gonna defend the house from burglars, and it's cool. It's creative, but I don't know. The rest of the film kind of gets in the way of that for me.
That's fair. Probably the aspects I like about this film the most are, like you said, the idea that it's all in the mind of a child. I think the film does a decently good job of portraying that and making Ralphie actually feel like a child instead of like an actor. There are times where it doesn't work out super well, and there's some sequences that are very what's the term when it just takes you out of it? I don't know. Like the sped up like Benny Hill sections.
Oh yeah. There's some weird. Those are like used as transitions, and it's just like, why? Okay.
It's to show the passage of time, I guess, and it's odd.
Yeah.
There's something like a lot of things. There's a lot of things because I had seen this film as like a kid. And watching it now, there's probably a lot of things as a kid I didn't really understand. Like I probably did not understand a lot of what the dad was doing. I thought the dad was just like some crazy dude.
Kind of is.
He kind of is. I didn't understand the lamp. I was just like, yeah, it's a lamp. I know now.
I want to have that sequence happen again and just a completely normal lamp.
Yeah, that was so good, honestly.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the humor is kind of awkward to me. The lamp sequence, I'm just like, oh.
It's a bit drawn out. Honestly.
Yeah. But also isn't something that like it like the film's like, oh, his dad horny. Oh man.
No, he's just dumb.
No, he's a like I don't know if it's.
I don't think he sees like what the problem with the lamp is.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, so, I figure
the film doesn't seem to portray it that way, at least.
I guess it's weird. Like, I don't know.
I'm gonna play Christmas Story Apologetics because part of the reason why I chose this movie is I have not watched it this year. I haven't watched it in a few years, in fact. But I quite enjoy it. I honestly love this movie. The thing with the leg lamp, the father is not horny, he's just proud. And that's why I find this movie so charming, is everyone's the most charming version of the worst part of themselves. And that's sort of the whole thing with the father is throughout the entire movie, he's always trying to prove himself. He's always trying to prove how great of a man he is, and that's really entertaining. The whole thing with the leg lamp, the reason why he's so mad at the wife is not because the lamp is broken, but because of the fact that he feels like she's upset that he won, and he says that to her. You only hated this because I won. It was my award, And there's that bit, and this is a really funny part. I love the narrator, by the way. I'm not sure how you guys felt about the narrator. I think the narrator is great, the way he delivers everything. But there's the scene where the father's standing outside the house, and he's telling the mother, move it a little bit to the right? And all the neighborhood, they're coming around, and they're, oh, what's that? And the narrator says, Dad's leg lamp turned on the entire neighborhood, right? And there was all the layers, because it's a sexy leg lamp, but also everybody's stopping and they're looking at it. And the joke that sort of permeates with that is that instead of being horrified like the mother is about the fact that it's a sexy leg lamp sitting in their window, everyone sort of buys into the father's story, and they start to, oh, that's an award. That is an award. That's a very impressive award, And it's kind of unclear, at least from the way I've always watched it. It's kind of unclear if they're just playing along for the sake of whatever you say. I don't remember what his name is. It shows how much of a fan I am. But yeah,
he's just saying, man. We never know his name.
But it's unclear if they're telling him that just for the sake of okay, you've gone senile, or if they genuinely have seen this lamp and they're looking past it because they are this man won something. He did this puzzle and he won something. He's so smart that he has this lamp, and this is his pride and joy. But yeah, I will concede that this movie does have very weird pacing. The in-between transitions when they're going to and from school being chased by the bullies, it does feel a bit like they're padding, because they don't transition like that in any other part of the movie. Everything else is spaced out pretty good. It does feel like they were kind of we got to make sure that you don't forget about the bully that just brutalized them several times. As for trying to play apologetics for the kid in line and the Chinese restaurant, I literally can't. It was... All I can say is it was a different time. I did not remember the kid in line. I'm not sure if you remember him. The one with the aviator glasses. Yeah. That one was an awkward one to sit through and watch, because I'm I understand what the joke is here. It's not that funny, but you keep pushing it. And I'm sure back then at a different time, that was probably hysterical. Look at the weird kid. But now it's it's a little exploitative,
I totally, when I was watching it, I didn't even get that was supposed to be a joke. I was just yeah, okay, Ralphie's just being annoyed because he's Ralphie and he's hates the world even though he's 5 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely meant to be played off as haha. I was oh no. Unfortunate.
Yeah. That being said, and Joe, while I understand your issue, my mother has the same issue with the movie. That's part of why she hates it. My family is very divided on this movie. You either love this movie or you hate this movie. My dad, whenever it's on, it's always on. And we own a leg lamp ornament. As much as my mother hated buying it, we have a leg lamp ornament.
Oh, an ornament. I thought you said you just had a leg lamp, and I was like, oh, God.
It's an ornament. It's about that big. For the people at home, it's about like an inch. It's like 2 inches tall. But yeah, my mother begrudgingly bought that when he saw it. But my mother hates the movie. Anytime it's on, she always finds something else to do. But my dad loves it. And maybe that's part of why I love it. I have very fond memories of it. But watching through it again, part of why I love it is just how quaint it is, you know? Because outside of the kids very loudly screaming, I thought this sort of... That's what I'm looking for. The apathy of everybody towards everything was really entertaining, you know? There's the bit when Randy she puts him in all of the winter coats, and you're like, oh, you know, he's in the... I know what this is about as a kid who, you know, would go to school and it was cold out. My mother's always putting these things, and this is hyperbolized to such a point where, you know, I can't put my arms down. And I'm sure you hated that, Joe.
It was like I get the joke they're going for, and I think it could have been good, but it's just like child screaming. No.
It's
like
where I find the entertainment from that is the fact that the mother is so concerned about making sure that her kids are warm on their way to school that when he mentions he can't put his arms down and she tries once, she just goes, you can put your arms down when you get to school, and she sends them on their way, you know? And it's like, there's something funny about the American housewife, you know? She has things that she has to do around the house, but she also has to make sure all the kids get to school, you know? And sort of continuing with that, on a less funny note, but sort of a little thing that I had noticed on rewatching it this time, the dinner when they're dealing out all the food, and there's the whole pig scene, which I'm sure you guys didn't like. And frankly, I'm not crazy about the pig scene myself. It really is just like awkward kids being awkward. But again, the narrator throws in this little line of, my mother hasn't eaten a hot meal in 15 years. And that was less about, like, I found that interesting less because of what it said and more just remembering, oh yeah, this is the 40s. Microwaves haven't been invented yet, you know? And it's like, yeah, she's always so busy taking care of her family that she ends up just eating her meals cold, and there's not like a microwave to throw it in. But that line there gives the mother a lot of humanity, and it saves her from just being a shitty mother, you know? It's lines like that. It's even when she goes so far as to try to trick Randy into eating, it ascends her beyond a mother who couldn't care enough to, you know, what's it called? A mother who couldn't care enough to fix her kid's arm as he's walking to school. And here's another fun scene, the soap. Not the soap itself, but when she calls...
The domestic abuse
joke?
That was...
I'm not even sure if that's like a joke. I mean, I guess it's a...
That was definitely meant to be a joke. I don't know why else it would be there.
I assume it would be funny for, like, my grandparents. Like, my great...
I remember when we used to beat the kids, hun.
Here's the thing.
Well, that's actually what I think it's going for.
You laugh about that, but I remember a few Christmases ago, and my great-uncle was talking about how fondly he remembers getting in trouble at school and having to go to the principal's office, and they would whack him on the hands with rulers, you know? And at this point, he's laughing about it. And I'm sure a joke like that, he'd look at it and he'd go, I remember back in the day when I would get in trouble and my parents would beat the hell out of me. But yeah, that is one thing that I cannot try to justify, because it's just like, ugh, you know, it's the mother is screaming weird, so that's funny, but like you're listening to it go down, and it's just.
I have to say, like, legitimately, that scene is like disturbing.
Yeah,
like you hear it and you're like, oh, what the actual fuck? Like, holy fuck, dude. Ooh.
Yeah. That is here's a fun thing about me. Whenever I watch Jurassic Park, I remember to the dot when the T-Rex part comes in, because that always used to scare the shit out of me as a kid. And it also would hurt my ears really bad. So it's like burned into my memory, and I always, whenever I see it coming, whenever they stop and the guy goes to the bathroom, I'm like, it's coming, and you know, I cover the ears preemptively. This is the same way. Once I see that bar of Light Boy, I'm like, you know, hold on, clench your teeth for a little bit. It's almost over, and then we get into the rest of the movie. You know, in sort of one thing that I found entertaining right prior to that is the back and forth with the tree salesman. And I'd love to hear what you guys thought about that, because I think I always found that hysterical. But
tree salesman? I don't know. It's a fun little one-off joke there. I remember like the scene where he says the F word. That's like burned into my memory from a kid. Like that scene, the tongue pulse scene, obviously. Like that's a classic right there. This is like some of the ones I remember the most from seeing this movie as a kid. Definitely. Whoa. What? What? You said something.
Well, no, you keep going.
Okay.
Because I was going to talk about the tree scene, but
the tree scene? Going. Yeah, go. I'm getting off topic.
Okay.
Go talk about.
I like. I thought the needles joke was like decent, but I was very much like indifferent to it. I think that's like a lot of it is I was just kind of like, oh, a lot of the humor just was like, okay, that was a joke for me. Like I was just like, eh. I think a lot of it is like none of it, like I expected everything basically.
Yeah.
Maybe not the domestic abuse. But like everything that was in the movie, I was kind of like, yeah, I saw that coming. With respect to a lot of the jokes.
It's kind of fair. It's not like a smart movie in any way, I'd say.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I think, like, I don't know, comedy usually has to like put me off guard. And do something that's just like, oh, what, like that really like shocks. Like the reason like the Santa scene got me is because I was not expecting Santa to do that at all. But yeah, I mean, I also talking about the Santa scene. I also really like how all of the workers are like fucking assholes. Yeah. They're like, just like, I don't want to fucking be here. Fuck this.
I mean, you're dealing with kids for like 12 hours.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It is weird because I feel like the movie kind of treats them like shit for the way they're acting.
Yeah, they're also, like villains in a sense.
But also it's like, hey, that's like really understandable.
Yeah.
To be pissed off.
I mean, you could make the claim that part of the reason why they seem like villains is because we follow Ralphie throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
You know? So, to him, one, they're standing in the way between him and Santa, and two, I've realized that there we go. And two, they're so sick and tired of dealing with kids that they're not treating him very great, you know? And granted, they don't tell him to pick his feet up, because although Randy is dragging along, but still, the lady elf is like he's completely compliant, and she's still pissed. Although I have to say, Santa is probably a liar. He mentions if I'm working 1 minute later, like "You can kiss my foot," he says. And I did not check the time, but I thought it was like 9 o'clock on the dot when they ended up getting onto the Santa.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, he's getting his feet kissed. That's a bonus.
But yeah.
Doesn't that like come back around because he kicks Ralphie down the slide?
Yeah.
Right. So it sort of comes back around.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
I want to also mention, because this film is viewed through the lens of a 9-year-old child who wants stuff for Christmas, it's very pro-consumerism. It's very heavy on the consumerism, which I guess makes sense.
1940s America.
Yeah,
that's true. It makes sense because Ralphie, he a kid, he want that gun. But it's definitely interesting how much the film embraces it. Literally the opening is like, hey, it's a display, like a shop display with like all of the best things. So yeah. I do want a Red Ryder though. They seem really
Someone was telling me that they sell Red Ryder BB. They sell a 2-pack of Red Ryder BB guns. One for Pops and one for the kiddo. So.
Oh.
Just say the word.
And then one for Brendan.
Yeah. But yeah, that's sort of. I get where you're coming from, but I think, like Brendan mentioned, that was kind of the time for the 1940s. Especially a kid. There's not as many distractions at home as we have now. So going out to town and seeing the pretty toys in shop, that was the most exciting thing. The Little Orphan Annie, if we want to talk about pro-consumerism, Little Orphan Annie, that whole racket with Ovaltine. Oh, what a heartbreaking moment. Although,
man,
boy, is his mother full of, like, empty threats. Although I guess that's part of I'm not a mother, so I wouldn't know, but he like snaps at his mother. And considering how like strict the facade that she puts on is, the way that he treats her. Like I remember the first time I saw it, and even now I'm always waiting for her to like get the belt or something, and it never happens. All he does is have a depressive episode because everything that he's been living up to is just an ad for Ovaltine. This is how communists start. Little Orphan Annie.
Damn.
Do you think Ralphie Parker is a communist?
Dude. I'm trying to remember now. Isn't the lore that she's like in a Russian prison or something? And that's why they're supposed to be freeing her?
I have no clue.
I literally just watched this movie and I'm already forgetting things. What's it called? I like, and at the same time I'm also confused by the movie's inconsistency with cursing. Because Ralphie drops a bitch. What's his name? Schwartz throws down a couple asses. But when the father starts cursing and when Ralphie starts cursing in I was going to say homage, but it's not really an homage. Out of influence from his father when he's beating the shit out of what's his name. It's just sort of, I don't understand the point of it, because this movie is very inconsistent, I noticed, with how cartoony they go about things, how cartoony the logic is. Because the dogs, which also... I still don't understand the dogs other than to eat the turkey, but they just appear and end up in their house, and it's why.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to it.
So they can have funny Chinese restaurant joke.
Yeah. But back to it, like when he's cursing and he's beating the shit out of the kid. That itself is also always kind of an awkward scene because it leaves the point of, oh, you know, Ralphie's bringing it back, you know, fighting the bully, and it just becomes like Ralphie beating the shit out of this kid while he screams for mercy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man. And then as they end that scene, it's clearly supposed to be a joke because what's his name does the thing where he goes, that's not going to translate great into audio, I realize. But yeah, he does the thing where he wipes his face and he's whimpering, and it's like, oh, it's funny because he's been beating them up the entire time. But like, no, he had genuine fear in his eye. And little, what's his name? I think his name was Gil something or other. When he runs off, I'm gonna tell my dad. There's genuine fear in his face. Like he's like, and the kids watching on keep screaming to Ralphie, kill him. And like, these are things that I didn't realize when I was a kid, and I didn't realize the last time I watched it so many years ago. But like, oh my gosh, that scene is terrifying.
Yeah.
It goes on it goes on for like a solid like 40, 50 seconds of just him beating this kid. It's like, Ralphie? You okay?
Like, I mean, yeah, he's been being bullied and stuff, and like, understandable, but I mean, like, there was a point where he could have stopped, or they could have just cut the scene because they didn't need it anymore and just got old. But anyways, yeah.
One of the things that I sort of felt from it. Sorry, I realized you want to move on.
No, we're just talking about all the things in this movie that haven't aged well, and I'm all for it.
One of the things that I was just thinking about right now is the fact that in a different movie, you would have that exact same scene, but the reasoning behind it and the message behind it would be like, oh, Ralphie has become his father. That's why he's cursing like his father, and that's why he's aggressive like his father. But that's not this movie. It's supposed to be a sort of like raunchy family comedy, and they're depicting this kid becoming his father, who, while we technically don't know that he beats his wife, you know, there's kind of this like uneasiness between the whole thing. Every time, the way that the mother sort of acts, where everything that he does, she kind of lurches, or you know, is very subservient. We don't see him ever beat his wife, and we don't see any like marks from it. But I don't think she also ever wears short sleeve shirts. And I've just ruined the movie for myself, by the way, because I never thought about it until now. But there's like plenty of signs indicating that while the father does not on screen beat the wife, he's
aggressive.
But yeah.
I don't think it's really implied that he does beat his wife.
Yeah, I'd say it's
their relationship doesn't make a ton of sense, honestly.
Yeah, I would say it is like a very like typical depiction of a like man and like housewife, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Where like the man is very aggressive, dominant.
He's manly.
Yeah, he's manly. Look at him and his leg. And the woman is very subservient to him.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's in the 1940s, but also, I don't know. I will say I don't think the film explicitly like endorses it, but I don't like that kind of like structure, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't. It's not like it did. I think the film just like uses it because that was kind of the thing, and does not think about it at all.
Right.
Doesn't have it. It just kind of it's there. And the writer of the book or the people who made the movie are just like, yeah, that's just how it was. So yeah.
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 One last gripe that I have, and this is something that I was thinking about even while I was watching it. Ralphie is way too lucky by the end of the movie, and it sort of agitates me. From cursing openly and beating the shit out of that kid and getting nothing more than sent to bed and go take a nap and calm down, right? Which is, again, like, as far as we're aware, his mother has never seen this kid bullying them because she's busy doing house things while they're going to school, and the bullying only happens on their way to school. But she completely unfazed by the fact that her son is brutalizing this kid and cursing like a sailor, you know? She just lets it slide and moves on. And, you know, they address it at dinner where Ralphie is so grateful that his mother did not completely sell him out to his father. But right at the end with the glasses, he makes up this ridiculous story about the icicle to cover up the fact that he almost shot himself in the eye with the BB gun. And nobody asks a question. They just... Anything you say, sweetheart, it was an icicle that hit you in the face and left a little BB-shaped bump on your face.
It's Christmas. I'll give it to him.
You gotta have a happy family ending at the end for a Christmas movie. Like,
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like on Christmas people are like way more forgiving of something like that.
exactly.
Like,
Also, the mom has a ton
whatever.
of other shit to worry about, like dinner and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You know, Joe, that explains the very ending where the husband and wife are just sitting together drinking wine. Because, and I guess the whole point of that scene, because I always remember this too, that it's just a weird place to end it. They're just sitting in a chair staring out the window, and that's it. You know, the movie could have ended with Ralphie getting shot in the eye, and then that's it. But they let it go on a little bit longer and just have the mother and father sit in the chair, drinking like a happy family.
Well, it ends with Ralphie in bed with the gun.
Yeah.
The final shot is actually
right with the gun.
Yeah. I agree that they drag out the ending too long. I was like, oh, there's more. What is happening?
Yeah.
But no, actually, I like the scene where it's just a mother and father just sitting there staring out the window. I think it's a nice bit of like the family togetherness that we don't really see throughout the movie.
I don't know. I always thought it was weird, but I guess from what Joe had said, the whole idea is that just for Christmas at least, they'll put the leg lamp aside and just spend some time as a family, you know? Because narrator mentions when right before the leg lamp breaks, that this is so traumatic that they continue to talk about it for 10 years after the event. But that Christmas day, they put it all aside. Yeah. At its core, it's about family.
Yeah.
It's all about family.
It's all about family. Anyways, we wanna wrap this up. Put some scores on A Christmas Story.
Do you want me to start?
I can go first.
Okay.
I'm going now. Okay, A Christmas Story. A Christmas Story. I don't like hate A Christmas Story. It's not really a good movie at its core. A lot of the jokes really don't hold up. I mean, this movie was made almost 40 years ago now, and it's showing its age, and it's a movie that was made 40 years ago based on a time period 80 years ago. So there's some not great jokes, as we have talked about. I like the idea of seeing it all through a kid. I think the movie does a good job of showing us, how Ralphie sees things and understanding what's going on in Ralphie's head. But there's a lot of just like children being children. I don't feel like that's that interesting unless you're a child.
Brendan does not like children too.
What?
He is a child hater.
Don't make this a thing, because when I give my response, we're gonna have an awkward conversation. I don't want to deal with that.
Oh, okay. Anyways, overall, like I'm pretty lukewarm on the movie as a whole. I guess it's not great, but I can't hate it. It's a Christmas story. It's a classic. I'm at like a 5 out of 10. It's a 5 out of 10 week for me, I guess.
I guess I'll go next. Christmas Story. I did not enjoy. Don't find the movie very funny. I either find a lot of the humor of kids screaming to be very annoying, or just like fine. Like nothing. Not very little in the film was particularly clever or well executed in terms of its humor, and I feel like that brings it down a lot. It just makes the experience kind of like, oh, all right. I think I could deal with that and be kind of okay with the film, because I do think there are quite a few very creative aspects of the film. The kind of not daydreaming sequences, Ralphie like imagining stuff. You have the mall sequence that is very kind of weird and off-putting compared to a lot of the rest of the movie. And I think the structure is pretty interesting and I think works. It's not really a straightforward story. It's more like a bunch of vignettes that are all kind of linked with the same characters and setting, and that happen like around the same time. But I can't really excuse how poorly a lot of the film has aged. The really racist stuff in it, and also the very concerning domestic abuse joke that is genuinely like horrifying. It just leads to a film that I'm just like not. I just don't enjoy at all. This is like a 3 to a 4. Also, Ralphie's kind of annoying.
Fair enough. Coming as no surprise to anybody, I still like this movie. I am not as bothered by the children screaming. And even to a point where I kind of... This is going to come off the wrong way.
You love children screaming.
You see, this is the joke that I was talking about. Brendan doesn't like children. Joe doesn't like children. Nuno likes this movie. Nuno likes children.
No, Nuno likes children screaming.
Which isn't much better. It's sort of situation that's in. I am not bothered by the screaming because it's still, even for a time I was not alive, a lot of the antics that the kids get up to strikes a chord with my own childhood, and so listening to the kids screaming and seeing them do stupid things to each other just makes me think about myself being a kid. And as a result, all it does is sort of make the movie feel more homely, so to speak. Not homely, but like it's more personal. Now, for the record, I've never been abused. My parents loved me very much, and the way that they would dish out punishments is through stern talking tos and the removal of privileges. So, no TV, go to bed, that sort of thing. So this is not me putting my parents on blast and saying this movie really relates to me because I was also abused. But despite the things that have not aged, and I will 100% agree that they have not aged at all, I still think that at its core, it features a lot of very flawed people that feel hyperbolized, but still real enough. Ralphie is a shitty kid, but so is lots of kids. The father is prideful, but so are a lot of people, The mother is trying to balance this world between being strict and being a loving mother, and that's the case for a lot of mothers. My mother included. Love her to death, God bless her. Randy is an annoying younger brother, but as the eldest of three, I know how that is. The spectacle of Christmas and the spectacle of wanting that big magical thing as much as people are telling you can't have it. The fact that the father himself gave him the Red Ryder BB gun. I legitimately for a moment felt that. I was like, I would be that father giving my kid the dangerous thing because as a kid I thought that was really fun. And because of that, because of how much it still holds very warm memories, both from me growing up and also from my own experiences, I have to give this a 7 out of 10. That is in strict contrast with you guys, but I will die on that hill.
Then perish. Alright, anyways. Thank you, Nuno. That about is going to wrap us up here today. Tune in next week where you're going to hear us talk about the album Ampersands by Mai Ehara and the movie Akira by Katsuhiro Otomo, directed by Katsuhiro
Otomo. We're doing Akira? What? I thought we were doing V for Vendetta.
Yeah, Jason changed it 10 minutes before we started the podcast.
Oh, fuck, this is actually, fucking something.
Yeah? Is it?
I'm doing the Criterion Challenge thing, and Akira is one of the things on it that I'm watching.
Is it... What week do you have to do it?
But what?
Is there a specific week that you have to do it? Because it's close enough to the first week where you could just say, yeah, got one down.
Man, I don't know. I can change it.
Alright.
I just, I want to do it week by week and, just do it in order, personally.
I see.
I can change my...
We could go back to V for Vendetta. I'm sure Jason doesn't care.
We can message him, see what his thoughts are on it.
Alright, maybe V for Vendetta or Akira. We will see.
What?
Jason got cold feet because Brendan said interesting and that got in his head.
Kind of.
Say it. Oh, please just, whenever anyone picks something, say interesting to them.
I'm pretty sure.
Them doubt.
I think
I said interesting to Nuno when he said it.
When I said Christmas record, I think you said interesting.
Yeah, I definitely did. I know when Jonah picked Sandcastle, I said interesting to him because I was like, Sandcastle from the reviews does not seem like that good of a movie. I don't know why you want to do this. But we went through with it. We talked about Sandcastle. We may be talking about V for Vendetta or Akira next week. We will see.
I don't know. We'll see.
Stay tuned.
Nuno, do you have any final words? Anything you want to tell the faithful listeners at home that got to this hour-and-a-half mark?
Thank you all for sticking around. Thank you for listening to me run my mouth. Brendan, Joe, thank you for inviting me. It's always a blast. To those who celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. To those who celebrate Hanukkah, I think it's over.
It ended last Thursday.
I hope you had a good Hanukkah. Everybody stay safe. It's cold out. There's a disease. And take care of your mental health.
Yo, there's a disease? Uh-oh.
This is the first time I've heard of this.
Quarantine. Yeah, we better quarantine, guys.
I hope there's a vaccine that turns me into an alligator.